Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lighthouse Sessions. I'm excited today. I have my new friend, Aaron Hendon, with me. Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we're going to go on a strange journey together.
Woohoo! All right, good. I love strange journeys. It's the first thing you want to know about me is I just posted today, like that was weird that on a little tombstone. What my tombstone should say is that was weird. Let's see. I am a managing broker of a real estate team. I'm a best-selling author. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a teacher and a trainer of mindfulness. And as a performance enhancer, that's my job. And I've been in various forms of mindful education and leadership training for over 30 years. I live on a small island off the coast of Seattle. If I get fancy, Jeff, I tell people I live on a small island in the Pacific, which is not 100% true, but it's close enough for government work. And
Yeah.
It's a little bit. I'm married 28 years on Saturday, actually.
Wow, congratulations. And a deadhead, as I recall.
And a deadhead and a Seahawks fan. And a New York Knicks fan. So we are talking about the Knicks. Sorry, man, I am not done. I'm not done talking about the New York Knicks. I'm originally from New York and that.
Love it. Now, let's talk about mindfulness first, because first of all, I believe we need to get the words and the vocabulary defined so people know what we're talking about. So what is mindfulness to you? And maybe tie it into the rabbit and the tortoise and the hare story, because I think that's relevant.
Yeah, totally. So mindfulness is, I'll just co-opt Jon Kabat-Zinn's definition. Jon Kabat-Zinn is the person who created mindfulness-based stress reduction, which was a model of mindfulness that has been currently accepted by corporate culture, and it's brought mindfulness into a Western context. And it's to pay attention on purpose, in the present, with no judgment. So that's anytime you are paying attention on purpose, in the present, without judgment, you're being mindful. It requires slowing down, and it provides, well, we can get into what it provides, but it requires slowing down. And, you bring up the rabbit and the hare, the tortoise and the hare. Inside hustle culture, which is the predominant paradigm for Western culture, burnout is a badge of honor. Look how busy I am. I have people that come to me and they ask about how do I get my downtime to be more productive? Just the most ridiculous conversations, because we are wired to have to be producing all the time, especially, the visionary entrepreneur that's listening has to be producing something that other people can recognize as a value. And it's as if we forgot the fact that the tortoise wins that race. Everyone's still busy being the hare, but the truth is the tortoise won the race. You missed the point of the story. Slowing down was the access. Slow and steady wins the race. But we don't have any practices in our culture that, I don't think glorify that, but let's go with it. Glorify that as much as we have structures in our culture that glorify how busy we are.
I think that's a fascinating point, because I think we have glorified the hustle culture to the point that it's incredibly toxic. And I think now everything's speeding up. We've got, with the age of AI, things have collapsed into, it's what used to take years now takes minutes.
Yeah.
We weren't wired for this pace.
No. And so there's a couple, you can notice this thing happening already with AI if you stop and think about it, because, time saver. There's certainly jobs that are being eliminated, coders, whatever. People have a lot of free time in that world. They need to go find something else to do. But for those of us in the entrepreneurial realm that use AI to help us with our newsletters or, advertising or all the other research and all the other things that AI is useful for, you notice we don't have any more free time. It's not like we've now found a tool and now that gives me more time to slow down. No. I found a tool, and that now I get to fill that empty space with even more stuff to do. And that's been the case with every time saver thing that we've ever created, is that something else fills the space, because the context is you need to be productive, and productive looks a particular way in the world of entrepreneurship, which is not the case, for example, in the world of athletics. There are no athletes, no top level athletes anyway, that don't understand intrinsically that rest is where the growth happens. That rest is, you talk about Tom Brady, goes to bed at 8 p.m. every night. It is critical. I just found out the Seahawks hired a sleep coach. Everyone's clear in the world of athletic performance that rest is required for performance, but in entrepreneurship, no such grace is given.
I love that analogy, because I think, once upon a time, I used to be a bit of a gym rat, and you did leg day and your body said, we're taking tomorrow off. There was no maybe.
That's right. If you don't, you cannot work a body part every single day and expect the muscle to grow. That's not how muscles grow. And that's not the way anything works. Everything has a season. Everything has a cycle. Everything needs rest.
You plant, and then you tend, and then you harvest, and then you recover. And I think if you think about the brain as a muscle, which in some ways it is, we're pushing that. And I'll be honest with you, Aaron, if I have a deadline, I will push it to the red line. And then the next day, it's like, forget about it. I met the deadline. I'm good. But I couldn't do meaningful work if I tried. And I think I'm going to call it an addiction. Honestly, visionary entrepreneurs, there's a fine line between obsession, addiction, and healthy. And I think most of us tend to dance on the wrong side of that line, because everybody, look how busy that person is. And so let's talk about the irony of slowing down. I feel like the Navy SEALs quote, what is it? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah, good.
I think that's...
The Navy SEAls also have this, another quote that I use all the time. And I love that slow is smooth and smooth is fast is absolutely accurate. If you need to go fast, you need to work slowly. And any entrepreneur is just going to be able to pick up on this immediately. Like, how many times do you have to redo work that you did quickly? And the fact that we live in a world where I work better under pressure is a conversation, is an indicative of the degree to which we're not present to what we're saying. Because nobody would choose pressured, frantic, chaotic over calm, centered, and grounded. No one says I work better when I'm frantic, chaotic, and pressured than I do when I'm calm, centered, and grounded. Everyone would choose calm, centered, and grounded. But we haven't trained ourselves to be calm, centered, and grounded. And people that say I work better under pressure really at best mean I work better under pressure than the people around me. Again, sports metaphor, the last clutch player, right? Jalen Brunson, my king, or Steph Curry or anyone else. Under pressure, they perform better because, and this is where the Navy SEALs come back in, the Navy SEALs and the Buddhists both have this expression. And I love it when those two groups get together, because
I love that.
That's not a common, they don't have a lot in common. But they say you don't rise to the occasion. You sink to the level of your preparation. Those clutch players aren't rising to the occasion. They have just prepared better. And meditation, go back to the brain as a muscle. Meditation is preparing the brain to be present, calm, centered, and grounded no matter what. And literally, so, but not in some woo-woo sense, although maybe, right? And I'm as woo as you get. So I'm not denigrating woo-woo people. If you're a woo-woo visionary entrepreneur, hit me up. But there is neuroscience here as well, which is your 10 minutes, we can talk about meditation in a minute because we should, but 10 minutes of meditation a day will increase the neuronal patterns, the neuronal activity in your prefrontal cortex. You're growing the rational reasoning part of your brain. You're creating a bigger space for reasoning, and you're thinning your amygdala. You're thinning the activity in your fight, flight, or freeze part of your brain. You're changing the brain the same way a bicep curl changes your biceps. The 10 minutes a day of meditation changes your brain. You are preparing your brain so that when things get crazy, you're centered. That's the power of preparation. That's why meditate.
I love that. And for what it's worth, I used to be one of those people that said, oh, I don't have time for meditating. And now it's like, I don't have the desire to not meditate. And you talked about the choice to be calm, centered, and present. I don't think most people understand that they do have that choice.
They do if they, now they do if they do, Jeff, because, if you haven't worked out, you may not have a choice. If you don't know how to swim, you don't have the choice to go swimming. If you can't lift 50 pounds, you don't have a choice of lifting that bag of flour. I was a baker, so those are my references. But, you may not have a choice because you haven't prepared your brain. It's just not like I don't have a choice about shooting 72 when I go golfing. I just don't have that choice because I haven't prepared. I haven't practiced my whole life, which is about how long I would have to practice to shoot a 72. So there's that. But the thing about meditation is great. The thing about not having time, let's talk about what keeps people from meditating. Because the first one that comes up is I don't have time. And the Buddhists have this great saying that everyone should meditate for 30 minutes a day unless they don't have time. And then they should do an hour. And I love that because that's, useful. That's if you get to keep any limitation you argue for. That's the way life works. You want to live a life where you ain't got 10 minutes, knock yourself out. You get the results of that life. That's your life. Good for you. Really. I'm not denigrating, just that's your life. But I've been told that Instagram does not kick you off if you don't scroll for those 10 minutes because there's no one who's not scrolling something on their phone for 10 minutes a day. And 10 minutes a day is sufficient to get the brain, the development in the brain that we talked about, 10 minutes. Now, here's the real rub, because once people get that, they're like, okay, fine. I got time. I'm good. I'll figure it out. But the thing that really stops them are two things. One is what they think meditation is. So I say meditate, you say meditate, and I promise if you don't actively meditate every day, what you hear or what you see in your mind's eye is likely to be sitting cross-legged on a cushion, incense, chanting, temples.
Perfect silence.
Perfect. Clearing the brain, clearing the mind and you think that's what meditation is. And I'm telling you, that's not what it is. It's bad marketing for meditation. I always picture Don Draper standing in front of the Buddha going, okay, here's what we're going to do. Don't just do something, sit there. That's the slogan they ran with for 2,500 years. So that's not what meditation is. So let's just take that out. It's not sitting with your mind clear because that's the thing that people have a problem with is I can't clear my mind. My mind is too active.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's talk about what meditation really is. Meditation really is watching the mind. You're trained. So the metaphor I have for it is this, Jeff. Do you ever train a puppy?
Yes.
Okay. So you put a puppy in the box, in the crate, and the puppy's job is fundamentally to get out of the crate, right?
Yeah.
It takes it like its job. And every time it gets out of the crate, you pick it up and you put it back in the crate. And you're friendly with it. It's a puppy, for God's sakes. You just love it. You're like, oh, look at the little puppy. You don't make the puppy wrong for getting out of the box. It's not the puppy's job. In fact, you cannot train the puppy to stay in the box if it doesn't try to get out.
Yeah.
You need to catch it doing the thing you don't want it to do. And then you need to reinforce it doing the thing you want it to do. Okay. You need positive reinforcement, and you need to catch it when it's not doing it. And the puppy's just going to keep trying to get out of the box. Okay. And if you do it and you do it right, you wind up with a well-trained dog.
Yes.
You wind up with your best friend. I don't know anyone who thinks their brain is their best friend, because you haven't trained your brain. You have a feral dog in your head.
Yep.
It chases every thought that it comes up to. And neurologically speaking, you have what's called the default mode network. That's the default of your brain. And your brain's job in default mode is to search for threats. It is a pattern-seeking, threat-avoiding machine. Okay. And if it doesn't see a threat, it will make one up. This is the rumination loop that we are, right, of problems happening all around. And I know this as originally a New York Jew who grew up with things are never so bad, they can't get worse. The genetic predisposition of my people to worry is unparalleled, okay? And that's what the brain does. It's doing its job. It's not a problem. It's never going to stop. No amount of meditation is going to stop the default mode network from finding threats. It's really good. It's designed to keep you alive, not to have you thrive, but to keep you alive long enough to procreate. That's the only job our brain has, is to keep you alive long enough to procreate. Thriving is up to you, and you can train your brain to note. You can note, because you're not your thoughts. You're not that default mode network. You could develop the capacity to notice. And that's meditation, is training the brain. So you take a breath in, and then as you're taking the breath out, your brain is making a list of things it needs to handle. Okay. Puppy's out of the box.
Yep.
We put that puppy back on the breath, and we come back to the breath. And then we take another breath in. And before you get the breath out, you're finishing that argument with that idiot you had on the internet 3 weeks ago. And you're like, oh, and now you're like 7 minutes gone because that idiot really, you got, all right, but now the puppy's under the couch. You pick the puppy up and you put him back in the box. And you do that for 10 minutes. And sometimes you have to do it every breath. Sometimes you get to 3 breaths. The point isn't to get to the 10 minutes where the puppy doesn't get out. That's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is, every time it gets out, you notice it. It's never going to not get out. You're never going to have some other default mode.
Yeah.
And you're never going to be permanently off default mode. That's default. That's what it is. The whole thing is about remembering to be present, and you're building that muscle of remembering to be present. So when the client calls and says, I'm going with someone else, or the bid you write doesn't get accepted, or the business plan doesn't get taken by the bank, or that thing happens in your life that would take you down some rabbit hole of doom, you go, whoa, look at that. You've prepared your brain. You're like a Navy SEAL. Oh, look at me go. Okay, what else can I put my attention on? What worked about this? But not like rushing it, but like, oh, okay, I get it. That happened.
Yeah. Aaron, I'm fascinated because you look at the ancient wisdom, you look at the Buddhist wisdom, and a lot of it made perfect sense, and they created these wonderful practices. And then somewhere along the way, I blame Western culture. We decided we knew better than, we could override the body. We could, it's the myth of we're in control and we mastered nature. No. Nature still rules us, and we just think we're in charge.
And there's a great book, Jeff, that fits right into this conversation. It's called No Mind, No Problem: How Neuropsychology is Catching Up to Buddhism.
Ooh, I got to read that one.
And it's exactly what you're pointing to. It's, look, there is the neuroscience is proving to the Western mind that what the Buddhists have taught for 2,500 years is the is 100% accurate. Just the way quantum physics has demonstrated, the butterfly effect, and that we are really all one, that's really the case. We're just molecules vibrating at a very particular frequency at a particular location, and we're more than being a solid mass. We are vibrating, and a statistical likelihood to be here, but not anything that's really set. And that can be influenced by other vibrations. That's all, the observer effect is, being demonstrated. And the Western mind has a hard time getting its head around that, but that's okay. That's all part of the trip. And so meditation. So the other piece that stops people. So once people get that, like, okay, I can just keep putting the puppy back in the box, 10 minutes a day, putting puppy back in the box. And again, you don't go work out because you want to get really good at lifting round iron circles. Fine. Yeah. You work out so you can lift your grandkid when you're 80 or walk upstairs or something. You don't meditate to get good at meditation. You don't meditate because how meditation makes you feel. Because sometimes I meditate and it feels like shit. It's like I was really distracted and really upset, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. But I'm not meditating to feel better. I'm meditating to develop the capacity to have agency over my attention. I don't want my attention hijacked. And there is a $1 trillion a year advertising industry. That's, Google spent $200 million, I think, something like that, to determine what shade of 43 different shades of blue produces the click the best. It's worth whatever it's worth to them. Your attention is intentionally being hijacked at a rate never before seen in human history. If you don't develop agency over your attention, if you don't, and practicing putting your attention back on your breath for 10 minutes a day are the reps to do that. Nothing else you do matters. You're just a leaf in the wind. The thing that really stops entrepreneurs, and this is those two things, time and I'm not good at it, are sort of surface level. The one underneath it is, if I lose my edge, if I become equanimous, if I become calm, if I become okay with how things are and how they're not, if I just become accepting, I won't perform at the level at which I need to perform. My edge is my anxiety. My edge is my drive. That's what separates me from other people. That's what makes me a great entrepreneur. And that is total bullshit.
Yep.
It's just, that's that world of, no. There's it's the difference between, and you were talking about this being obsessed and like that. It's the difference between doing something out of addiction or obsession or that world versus doing it out of devotion.
Ooh, I like that.
And there are things you do out of devotion that are effortless, that don't require anxiety to produce. You do it because you're in the presence of how much you love it. The metaphor of the stonecutters. Do you know this little story?
I don't.
Maybe.
Well, maybe I do.
Maybe you do. There's a guy walking down a country road, Italy, let's say, and he sees a guy and he's sweating. He's got a chisel and a hammer in his hand, and he's banging the chisel against the rock, and he's red-faced and angry, and he says, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" And the guy says, "What does it look like I'm doing, idiot? I'm banging stone. I'm chipping stone here. Get out of here." Sorry, my friend. He keeps walking down the road. Sees another guy, and this guy's got pressed pants and a pressed shirt and suspenders, and he's clean and he's calm, and he's got a hammer and a chisel. Same thing. He's walking around the stone methodically, and he says, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" He says, "Well, I am a stonemason, and I am carving these rocks into stones." "Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that." And then he sees a third guy, and the third guy is like, you ever see a guy with light in his eyes? He's flowing around this stone. Same chisel, same hammer, but like moving like water, like a dance around this stone. And he says, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm building a cathedral." And that's the choice we have.
Yeah.
Your edge, you're chipping stone, man, or you're building a cathedral. and you can tap into what you love about your entrepreneurial spirit, what you love about what you're building, anytime you slow down long enough to tap into it. And that's what the 10 minutes a day will give you, is like, okay, I can reground myself. I'm not losing my edge. I'm losing my edginess.
Ooh, yes.
That's a real difference for people, because now their edge is their heart. Now their edge is their devotion. Now their edge is what they're building. And that's everything. That changes your relationship to your spouse, to your family, because you're now no longer, at home, but really at work.
Yeah.
You're actually at home when you're at home, because what you're building is a life, and you have agency over attention. So you can put your attention on the dinner you're at, not checking your voicemails every 3 minutes while your kid is telling you about his day.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's a powerful message, because kids, spouses, everybody recognizes when we're present, and they also know when we're an annoying distraction. They will go away and stop bothering you.
Well, who else notices when you're present and when you're not? Are the people you're selling to. This is why when I train sales teams in this, they increase their sales by 100. My team increased its sales by 160%. And all we did was teach them how to meditate. We didn't, no scripts, no closing, no objection handlers, no NLP. All that stuff's useful, not denigrating any of that stuff. But people buy from people they like, know, and trust. Yes? No one argues with that. Like, no, trust. And if you're present, people will trust you. Yeah. And that changes the game, because your clients know when you're distracted, and your clients know when you're trying to get the sale, and your clients know when you're trying to get them to do what you want them to do or close them, versus when you're authentically interested, curious, and open. They're relaxed. They're like, they want to do business with you.
Yeah.
You got the meeting. They want to find out what you have to offer. Can you be present long enough to discover how there's a match? That's the kind of skill that meditation will develop. The capacity meditation will develop.
I love that. And I think, again, most entrepreneurs, I've met a few where we've gone to retreats, and they will sit for the meditation, the mandatory meditation, and then the second there's a break, they're outside checking their phones, and they'd look at me and go, "Where's your phone?" And I'm like, "It's in my room." Well, how are you getting anything done? I'm being here.
I need to make my downtime more productive. That's what that looks like, versus, no, this is downtime. This is my recovery time. This is the time so that when I go back on the court, I have rested. Yeah. It's crazy.
Aaron, you and I were meant to have this conversation, because in my early 20s, I went out and I was like, okay, I'm going to meditate. I bought the cushion. I bought the incense. Turns out I hate incense. But more importantly, I bought Meditation for Dummies, which probably was my first mistake. But I was going to master meditation if it killed me.
Yes, great attitude. That's a great attitude. There you go.
And it was just daily annoyance. And I was like, oh my God, and now to your story about the puppy, most people are kinder to everything else but themselves.
100%, Jeff. Yeah.
We whip that metaphorical puppy to death half the time.
Here's the best metaphor. So first of all, learning to meditate, I have found, requires a teacher, not the apps. Yeah. People learn to meditate on the apps, stop meditating. Those apps have like a 90% churn rate, because just what you said. So here's the context for anyone learning to meditate. And I teach meditation for free. There's free meditation classes in every city in the world. I do it on Zoom. Anyone can sign up, but in your city as well. Every city in the world has free meditation. There's a Zen center or an Insight center somewhere. When you learned, do you have kids?
Yes.
Okay, so you taught them how to walk, yes? You were there when they learned how to walk?
Yep.
And I wasn't there for your kids, but I was there for mine. And anyone who's listening, when you learned how to walk, or you taught someone how to walk, this is what happened. Every time they stood up on their chubby little legs and they wobbled, you cheered.
Yep, loudly.
loudly. And if they fell, you cheered. And if they fell forward, you acted as if they walked.
Yep.
You were like, look at this. He's taking a step every time. There was never any criticism, never any coaching, never any like, advice. There was just love and celebration for every attempt to do it. And I have yet to meet the adult that has 1/100th of that grace for themselves when they're learning anything new. Yeah. And if you don't, and nobody winds up not a walker. I mean, if they're physically capable of walking, they wind up walking. No one's like, this doesn't work for me. I gave up. Right. And you would never take that from your child. You'd never be like, no, dude, give up. You're not walking.
You weren't meant for this. Just stay on the floor.
I mean, how many more times you got to fall? But when we learn something new, meditation or anything new, we have a cap on how many times we get to try before we stop. And that's insane. Every attempt. What I tell my class is, even if you skip meditation for a day, you didn't meditate, great. Okay, the hardest part you got is forgiving yourself and moving on. There's no making it up. Don't worry about it. That's not a thing. You can't make, that's not a thing. You can't make it up. And when you think about meditating, good. There's some mindfulness in thinking about meditating. Celebrate that. Celebrate the attempt. Celebrate the conscious thought about it. You can't do it wrong.
I'm going to share something with you, Aaron, because I think you'll find this amusing. A friend of mine was using one of those apps, and the app actually glitched. And he had like a 365-day streak, and it reset to 1.
Broke his heart.
It broke his soul. I'm not kidding. He actually tried to buy the company so that he could make them reset it. And the founder was not willing to sell. And I'm like, the streak was way more important to him than the activity, which...
Yeah, you got to be really careful with gamification. I have found this to be true. I found this personally, the moment I didn't get Wordle in the first set, I gave it up. As soon as my streak broke, I gave it up. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't need it. And so that's another reason why I would watch it and be careful on the apps. Don't choose gamification. Look, on some people, it works great. It gets them to do it when they wouldn't do it otherwise. But in many, many, many cases, the gamification winds up being a deterrent as soon as the streak is broken. And, I much prefer to get life is happening. I can't do it wrong. There's no race to be won. How did I write that? I was like, looking for hacks. Everyone's looking for hacks. I need a hack. And look, unless you enjoy living your life like it's a race, why don't you just ask, what am I rushing to? What's better over there than over here? What do I need to get to that I don't have right now that's worth rushing to? Because as soon as I get over there, it's going to look like it does now, which is not enough. So I better make enough here to do it. But unless you really enjoy living in a race.
I'm seeing the visual. I used to do a lot of fun runs, and you'd see the people who were too busy, too fast. They couldn't stop to drink, and they'd throw water at their face and keep going. And then there was the people who would stop and they would enjoy their water, and then they'd run, and then they'd pass the people who didn't bother hydrating. I feel like we're literally, the problem with the human race is the finish line is undefined, but I'm not in a rush to get to the end of this life.
It's, if you live, the point of playing a piece of music is not to get to the end. You don't play a song so that you hurry up and get to the end of it already. You dance to it, and that's the opportunity. You could live your life like a song, like a dance. You could, if you wanted to.
I love that, because when I was in my 20s, I'd get really annoyed when somebody would say life is about the journey, not the destination. I'm like, get out of my way. I got somewhere to be. And it's like,
do you really know?
It's those little moments. And, for what it's worth, I'm an advocate of meditation. My kids don't know it, but I've been teaching them how to meditate, and we're all just calmer for it. And, for a lot of people, find ways to deliberately disconnect. I hate the term forest bathing. I think it's ridiculous to call it that, but the idea of being in nature, I am all for that, because you can't feel like you're that important when you're stopping and enjoying the beauty of nature. It's like,
Yeah,
there's miracles all around us.
all around us. The whole thing is a miracle. You know, I mean, I got that hit when I watched my daughter born. She just turned 23. You know, I'm holding her. I watched her come out of my life, and I thought, okay, there's nobody who's ever seen this happen that doesn't think this is a miracle, right? Nobody has ever seen their child born and not been the complete presence of that just happened, and that's a miracle. And there is literally nothing more common, literally nothing more common than being born. You don't know anyone who wasn't born. There is not a thing about humanity that's more common than the fact that we were born. And if the most common fact is a miracle, then what's not a miracle? Show me not a miracle.
I love it. And by the way, when I meditate, I see more miracles. Like there's just so much around you. And it's like, how much of this did I hurry past? You know?
Well, that's a really good point, Jeff. And I think it's really important for people to get. So there's the spiritual miracle and the woo-woo that we're talking about, but then just the seeing. So let's just talk about how meditation increases performance, because everyone gets it as sort of a well-being thing and not a performance enhancer, but it is a performance enhancer, and not just because you get well. Because look, the only thing that produces a result is action. No one meditates and finds gold bars at their feet when they wake up. Okay, when they come out of it. It's not the way meditation works. So the only thing that produces a result is action, which is why we're constantly in fucking action. Okay, fine. But if you want new results, you have to take what kind of actions?
Intentional, deliberate.
Well, new actions. If you want new results, you have to take new actions.
Yeah.
And the only thing we act on is what we see to act on. You can't act on something you don't see. You always act on the way the world looks. Like if, I don't know any new tennis players, but if Roger Federer today served me a tennis ball, I would see a bullet.
Yep.
And I would duck. I would get out of the way. It would be scary. Rafael Nadal would see, oh, I could crush that.
Yep.
Same ball. But the action is different because the way it looks is different. What we see gives us our actions. So if the only thing that produces result is action, and the only kind of action that's going to produce a new result is a new action, and the only thing I can act on is what I see, if I want to take a new action, I need to see things newly.
Yes.
I can't keep seeing things the same way I saw them yesterday and expect some new action to come out of it.
Yep.
Meditation is exactly that. You're slowing down for long enough to see things newly. And that's why people who meditate outperform people who don't. Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Workweek guy, also wrote a book called Tools of Titans, Habits and something of the world's top performers. He interviewed 200 billionaires, elite athletes, top performers in their field, 200 people. The number one most common habit, 80%, was a mindfulness practice.
Yeah.
Now, look, you can zig while they zag, knock yourself out, right? or you could say, wait a minute, 80% of the world's billionaires have a mindfulness practice. Maybe I should slow the fuck down and just see what's up with that. Maybe the 10 minutes a day will make a difference. And I'm a meditation evangelist. That's exactly what I do.
I love that, because I think one of the things a lot of people I've heard take away from Tim Ferriss and his stories is, okay, I need this mindfulness, my morning routine, and I need to have my this, and I need to do that. And it's like, no. You missed the mindfulness part.
You missed the point. Yes, your 4 a.m. your 4 a.m. ice bath is not going to get it done.
Yeah, it's the mindfulness, and
take the 10 minutes.
Aaron, I could talk to you all day. You and I have so much more we could dive into.
I love it. Yeah.
You are welcome back anytime. Now, for those who are watching this and saying, I do need to find the time, or I have the time, I just don't know how to meditate, or they just want to learn more about what you do, where can people go to connect with you, follow you, find out what you do?
They can go to aaronhendon.com. It's very complicated.
Nice.
Mindfulness.com, and it's got there's my class schedule. I have a book coming out in the end of July. They can pre-order that, or they can, I don't know when this is airing, so they can get that book there. It's called How to Live a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World. And it's a 9-week practice to train your brain for clarity, presence, and peace. And they can reach me at aaronhendon.com, and I do keynotes and trainings, and some free, some paid, some donation, whatever it takes.
I love that. I'm going to leave you with a parting story. When I first later revisited meditation, a friend of mine gave me 6 videos, and I watched them double time. And I went, maybe it wasn't about finishing the videos.
Yes.
That's what we're dealing with, right?
That's right. I'm listening to my meditation at 1.5 speed. That's exactly.
I was at double speed, and then I found out I could go to triple speed, and I'm like, maybe there's I'm missing the point.
Maybe I'm missing the point. It's very good.
Well, Aaron, it was great to meet you, and thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate you and the work you do.